Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to explain how Fenrir plays. I'm very happy with how she or Volt team in general performs at the moment. For you global players, Fenrir does not just solve Volt team's biggest problem, which is lacking of an efficient driver and shield breaker, but also adds varieties in terms of team comp options. Fenrir is the first weapon that gives you mixed element resonance and simulacra trait. By utilizing that, we can have some very interesting builds while still being able to build a strong traditional Volt team if the player chooses to. Overall, the new Volt team has the best damage against single target and gets its survivability significantly improved. And let's not forget that Fenrir is also very cute. Alright, let's first go over the basic attacks. Her normal attacks have 7 hits, and they all have 50% chance to mark the enemy with a note. She has 3 branch attacks. All of them have 100% chance to mark an enemy with a note when you hit. That's one. That's the second move. And that's the third move. And you can designate these notes marked by doing a dodge attack or the aerial branch attack. Like that. And you will deal additional damage when you designate the notes based on how many notes you have marked. You can mark 5 notes simultaneously at maximum, and when you designate more than 2 notes, the target is gonna enter a bleeding effect. And every second, the target will lose HP based on your own character's maximum HP. And the designation damage, the bleeding damage, are all considered dodge attack damage. That means they're all able to benefit from Lin weapon skill. So Lin is still in the meta, and it is still very beneficial for the Volt team to utilize Lin. Okay, let's talk about this very interesting weapon skill. When you cast the skill, you're going to spawn a clone of the enemy and also generate a sound field. You can actually hear Fenrir singing, and then the song is called Chocolate. Within the field, you will take less damage and ignore part of target's defense. The clone's HP is equal to 30 times player's max HP, and can only receive non-passive damage from Fenrir weapon. So it will not take damage from the node passive or any other weapon. You can do damage to the clone and it's gonna transfer 100% of the damage it takes back to the original. So if you manage to hit both the clone and the original target, you basically do double the damage. If the original target is not nearby, you can still hit the clone to do damage to the original. When you hit the clone, you can also heal yourself based on your attack. When the clone exists, you also take less damage from the original. When the clone returns to the original target, it's going to trigger a high modifier damage. And finally, the clone will return to the original if it exists for 15 seconds, or if you kill it, or when you use the skill again to generate a new clone, or the original target is too far away. And for the discharge, there's only one thing I want to mention here is when you use the discharge, you're going to mark the target with 3 notes. And let me do a short demonstration. When you cast the skill, you can see it spawns a clone of the dummy target. You can also hear Fenrir sing. And if I hit the clone, you can see I'm able to heal myself. And as you can see, the dummy target is not as tanky as the original, because the dummy target's HP is based on the player's max HP. Okay, let's talk about the resonance and advancements. The Volt resonance is nothing new, but she also has this balanced resonance, where if you equip 3 weapons of 3 different elements, your attack is going to get increased by 15%. So this is very helpful when you try to run a mixed element team, which I'll be introducing later. The most important advancement is her 1-star. After you cast the weapon skill and when the clone still exists, you get this new slash skill. For every slash you do, you will heal yourself based on your attack, and you will deal a total of 1500 modifier damage. So this is very high modifier here. The skill is especially good when you pair Fenrir with Tianlan, since Tianlan's passive gives you invisibility frame. When you cast a Volt weapon skill, you don't need to worry about getting knocked off or getting one-shotted, so you can safely finish the combo. And also the healing here can mitigate the self-damage passive from Tianlan's weapon. The skill is also gonna add 2 nodes to the target, and when you designate 3 nodes, you can also reset the slash skill cooldown, and you can only reset it once every 15 seconds. Now, since you need to designate 3 nodes and then the skill only gives you 2 nodes, just make sure you do a couple of normal attacks or do a branch attack to get that third node, and use a dodge attack to designate 3 nodes to get that reset. Now you want to use dodge attack because Volt team kind of centers around dodge attack a lot, since Lin's weapon skill field gives you a lot of a dodge attack bonus. So usually we use dodge attack to designate the nodes. So just within a couple of seconds you're looking at 3000 modifier damage, and that's where Fenrir's burst comes from. And if you're not a whale or high spenders, 1-star is a good place to stop, but all her other advancements are good to have. The 3-star is basically, it gives you some additional modifier every time you use the weapon skill, the new weapon skill you gain. And you can also trigger this additional modifier damage for every 45% max HP you lose. This is very easy to trigger if you, again, pair Fenrir with Tianlan. And for every 99% max damage you lose, you will also gain this one-time death negation. So when you take lethal damage, rather than dying, you will be immune to any damage for a short period of time. So, great survivability feature here. 5-star basically enhances your node passive damage. And also, if you don't trigger the 3-star passive damage, for 12 seconds, it's gonna automatically trigger it. So it's some good quality of life improvement. But the 6-star is the real deal. It increases Fenrir's weapon final crit rate by 30%, and even if you switch to other weapon, the crit rate buff will still last for 5 seconds. This is very helpful because now Xian, the level cap has been increased to 90%, and I'm pretty sure you guys know if your level gets higher, then the crit percentage you get from your crit value will keep going down. And especially for someone who don't have a good glove or good boots, which is the case for me, it's very hard to get a high crit rate. And you can see I have nearly 17k crit rate, but my final crit percent is only around a little over 70%. So with that 30% final damage rate from Fenrir's 6-star, I can actually hit like 100% crit rate here. And that's the reason why I didn't go to 3-star Tianlang and 3-star Fenrir. Rather, I choose 6-star Fenrir because she is the real carrier here. You can still invest into Tianlang's advancements, but if you're not like a whale, I will suggest you to hold on to that and invest as much as you can into Fenrir. And let me do a short demonstration of the weapon skill. So if I cast the skill, you can see I gain a new skill, if I do the slashes, I get too low, so do a couple of, normal attack to get the 3 notes, and then use a dodge attack to reset. And that's why you can see me cast the slash skill again. And this is where the burst damage comes from. Next, let's talk about matrix options. Since Fenrir is the main carry on the field most of the time, 2 Samir and 2 Crow is a good choice for field player and low spenders. One thing to notice here is that these days in CN, since level cap gets increased and a lot of players struggle to have high enough crit rate, King 2-piece matrix has become more of a trend than 2-piece Crow, especially considering the insane shield breaking capability from Fenrir. But both 2 Crow and 2 King are good options, so choose whatever you have. And of course we have Fenrir's own matrix set. The 2-piece bonus gives crit damage bonus, and unlike Crow's matrix, it does not have HP requirements and also works at the background. 4-piece bonus gives you final damage bonus if you do volt damage, and it also works at the background. So Fenrir's set does not just work for volting, but rather for every element, given you have at least a volt weapon in your lineup. I've also talked about Tianlang's matrix in his video, and it will still be a good choice here since it's also a completely off-field set, but since it only increases volt damage, it has less priority compared to Fenrir's matrix for free-to-play or low spenders who can't afford to pull every single set of matrix. And finally, if you have Lin in your team, her matrix set will always work. And depending on your team comp, you can have many matrix setup options. For example, in a Fenrir Tianlang Nemesis triple Volcom team, you can do something like 2 Samir and 2 Crow on Fenrir, 4-piece Tianlang on Tianlang, and 4-piece Fenrir on Nemesis. Alternatively, you can also use 2-piece Fenrir or 2-piece Nemesis on Nemesis. The key idea is that with many sets that work for the Volt team, even if you cannot manage to get all 4-piece set, 2+2 is always a good and low budget option. Finally, let's talk about team comp options. We can either build a traditional Volt team or a mixed element team. For traditional Volt team, we can do Tianlang plus Fenrir plus Lin. This is the best setup, and other alternatives include Fenrir plus Tianlang plus Nemesis or Fenrir plus Nemesis plus Lin. In terms of synergy, Tianlang works great with Fenrir. Even though he has self-damage problem, he provides the critical invincibility frame when you cast the Volt weapon skills. This helps you have very smooth skill casting from Fenrir's 1-star. And since both Fenrir default weapon skill and 1-star have good healing capabilities, Nemesis' healing feature has become much less necessary. And compared to Lin, Nemesis provides much less off-field damage and buff. So in general, only use Nemesis if you don't have other options. For a mixed element team, we can use Fenrir plus Saki and Lin. Fenrir's Balance Resonance, her Simulacra trait, and Lin's Moonfield all give buff to mixed element, so we don't lose a lot when compared to a mono element team in terms of buff. You will need 1-star Fenrir and 1-star Saki at a minimum for this setup to work. The idea is you are able to cast exactly 5 weapon skills in every rotation, and Saki's 1-star will reset all skill cooldown, allows you to cast infinite skills and abuse that insane modifier from Fenrir 1-star. Keep in mind you will still want your gear to have high volt attack, since Fenrir is still the main carry here. And let me do a quick demonstration. So we start the fight by casting Saki's skill, casting Link's skill. So we have 2 weapon skills casted. Swap to Fenrir. And if you swap to Saki, you will notice all the skill cooldown gets reset. And that's how the mixed element team works. And similarly, we can abuse these mechanics in an ice team with Alice plus Saki and Fenrir. You will also have exactly 5 skill casts every rotation to allow you to reset cooldown. And keep in mind, Alice's Simulacra trait allows other element weapon to summon her Phantom too. So let's just try that here. Excuse me, I'm still in battle. So if I equip Alice weapon, I also need to swap to her.
MSEC 2000。
And you can see as I cast Fenrir skill, I'm also able to summon Alice skill. And I'll have completed 5 skill casting. If I swap to Saki, you'll notice the skill gets reset again. So you can basically keep abusing this skill resetting mechanics and have very fun gameplay. Alright, I think that's everything for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great Thanksgiving holidays.